It's good to see me, isn't it? Okay, we are quite literally 1 week away from Wicked for Good, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been sitting on this video for a minute. Hey, I'm Mo, I'm a hairstylist and studio suite owner, and most importantly, I am obsessed with Wicked. Obviously, part one came out last year, and it was iconic. I sobbed like a baby in the theater and just waiting for the part two trailers to drop. Obviously, they dropped over the summer. They were so beautiful. As soon as I heard the first note, I was sobbing. And then slowly watching different interviews, specifically with Ariana Grande, I'm not gonna lie. I need to watch some more of the interviews. I believe by the time this is going up that the Peacock NBC special that they're doing is out, possibly. We'll see. Movie magic, obviously. I'm filming this ahead of time. But as I mentioned, we are just days away from Wicked Part 2, Wicked for Good, coming out in theaters. I already have my tickets. I'm so excited. Like I said, I've been kind of sitting on this video for a minute. Once the first trailers dropped, I was like immediately inspired to start diving into the outline for this video. I just wanted to talk about the transformation of Elphaba from part one to For Good, just what we're seeing from the trailer, through her appearance, not just obviously the fact that she is green, but through the costuming, the hair, the makeup between part one and part two. I wanted to dive into how the makeup and costuming, specifically hair and makeup, plays a role in and of itself as a character in storytelling. And I think this is depicted so well with Elphaba and with how much care Cynthia Erivo has put into portraying this character. So before we dive into the glam transformation of Elphaba, I want to take a moment to address the creative liberties that were taken for Erivo's portrayal of Elphaba, because honestly, it's just so good. Specifically, I love that they used multiple braided wigs to create Elphaba's different hairstyles throughout the films. Considering the obvious that Erivo is a woman of color, I don't think it would have been right to have her in like a soft blown out lace front. That would not have felt right or true to her version of Elphaba. According to a Teen Vogue article published December 18th, 2024, Erivo had requested Elphaba's hair and nails for the film. She said, quote, "I wanted something more connected to the person underneath me, and even requested micro braids to honor Black women. I knew you'd still have the movement and you could still have the length, but there was a texture that was slightly different to what you would normally see on stage. It was a direct connection between me as a Black woman and Elphaba as a green lady," Erivo explained. There were 4 custom-made wigs for the film that were created by Samuel James Wigs and their incredibly talented team. Each one was hand braided by a team of 4 braiders. Now, if you're not familiar with like braiding at all, this is so detailed and this is such a tedious process. So to have to create 4 custom wigs, that is insane. And that is like so much skill, so much talent to get these created for this project. The first thing I noticed in the first trailer to drop, when we see the iconic Elphaba reaching behind her hair, we see her nails, we see the braids. The braids is immediately what I clocked. And I said, I love that they did this for her. I love that she requested this. So just so much talent in this film. I'm gonna go on a rant. I'm so sorry. The talent for this film, from the production side, the music, the casting, down to the instrumentalists for them to build out the soundtrack more. From, if you can't tell, I've watched way too many behind the scenes making of things on Peacock. No, I'm not sponsored, Peacock. If you would love to work together, please. But I just fell down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos and all the behind the scenes documentaries, and we just could not get enough. We have been so obsessed with this since the first time we saw it. I think I saw it in theaters 3 times. It might have been twice, and then it came out on streaming, but we saw it a lot. Anyway, in an Instagram post from November 25th, 2024, the team shared, when collaborating with the incredible hair, makeup, and prosthetic designer Frances Hannon Official, we worked closely to determine the texture and curl pattern, including tinting the lace to match a sample of the green makeup used on Cynthia. Many hours of nodding by Sam James Cox, Justin Lee Jones, and Charlie Watson went into these wigs to achieve the level of fine detail needed to show the green skin through the braids. Particular attention also to the texture and presence of the frontal baby hair as well, a request from Cynthia herself, achieved by mixing mohair and textured hair. Looked after and applied by the talented hands of our close friend, Simcaps Pro, who created all of Cynthia's hairstyles. What a collaboration this process was, and what a fantastic film this is. We didn't realize quite how major this project would become. Further wicked wig content to follow soon. This attention to detail really made the film adaptation of Elphaba so much more special for me personally. And without these incredibly talented individuals, I wouldn't be creating this video now. Shout out to every single person who worked on the hair, makeup, prosthetics, and costuming for this film. You all did such an amazing job and should be beyond proud of what you've created. It seriously would not have been the same without the attention to detail, the skill, and the incredible talent behind every single character, the sets, just everything was so flawless. Before we get to where we are now with the part 2 trailer out, let's go all the way back to Wicked Part 1 and examine how Elphaba's hair from start to part 2 for good takes us through the story with her and takes us through her journey, further developing the character beyond just the dialogue and what is shown on screen. We get our first look at Elphaba during the opening number. Obviously, no one mourns the wicked. Glinda is explaining to the Munchkins. She's trying to humanize Elphaba to them. Everybody is celebrating that the Witch of the West is dead, you know, celebrating that this reign of terror in Oz is over. However, at the same time, you know, Glinda, she's now this like almost like ambassador to the people. So she has to save face. She's torn between, you know, having to represent all the Ozians and having to combat the fact that she just lost her best friend and probably her only real friend she's ever actually had in life beyond like a shallow level. So in the song, she obviously is participating in the celebration with the people of Munchkinland. And then she has a moment where she is very much so trying to humanize the Wicked Witch of the West. You know, she says she wasn't always wicked, which leads us to the question, are people born wicked or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? And this question looms kind of through the whole musical if you have never seen it before. She talks about how the witch wasn't always wicked. She was born into a family just like you and I. She had a mother, a father, you know, the whole nine, whatever. And that she was a child, had a normal childhood, other than the obvious fact being that she was green. So we get our first glimpse at baby Elphaba, young Elphaba, obviously when she's a first newborn baby, just a little green peanut, and then it kind of skips ahead to when she's like a younger child. Our first look at Elphaba, aside of her being a baby, is just this adorable little girl with glasses. She's got her free-going fro, curly hair just out, and she's just being adorable and cute and excited and talking about the wizard to her little sister Nessa Rose. And already she's been being treated different, which sucks and is so sad. And you know, you already feel for this little girl, but then to also see her like hold her own when she's being like taunted by the children of Munchkinland and upsetting her little sister, like she's just so wholesome, and like that moment really just like grabs you right away. But for me personally, seeing this version of Elphaba not only shows the young, free, innocent spirit that she is at that time, but you know, she's a child. She has her natural hair out. It's also like a physical embodiment of her powers. She has no control over them yet. She's still not fully sure what these powers are, and it's a really cool symbolism and connection of the innocence and carefreeness of being a child. And even if you are different, like all kids want the same thing. They just want to be carefree and curious and have fun. Young Elphaba for me definitely represents like innocence and wonder in a sense. The song closes and then one of the girls from Munchkinland asks Glinda if it's true that she was Elphaba's friend. Of course, it takes Glinda a second to process how she wants to answer that, but of course she says yes. And then she begins telling us the story of how her and Elphaba met. We go back in time to when they are both at Shiz University, and this is our first introduction to Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba. During the opening scene at Shiz, everyone's loading in off their boats, unpacking their stuff, greeting old friends, greeting new friends, asking for directions on where to go, whatever. There's like all the chaos. Think of like moving into your dorm at college. When Elphaba gets off the boat, we automatically see people turning and looking at her and whatever, but our first impression of her is from the back. And the first things we see are her hand. We see she's green, obviously, and then the back of her hair. This whole first arc of the film, she very much so is, it's like that trope in 90s and 2000s rom-coms where like the nerdy ugly girl isn't actually like a nerdy ugly girl. They're just wearing their hair up and have glasses on. It's kind of that effect. While that trope is so overplayed, it serves a really cool purpose here because she does have her hair pulled back. She's got her glasses, a little timid, but still very witty, sharp-tongued. You know, if someone says something to her, she's gonna clap back. But there's something still so innocent about her at this point in time. So from seeing her as like a young, innocent child to now this teenager who's very still unsure of herself. Obviously older, obviously matured to a point, but she still has this sense of adolescence and she still has this essence of innocence that I think carries through pretty much until the Oz Dust scene. And I think that's done so well. Like I said, it's a trope for a reason, and I think it serves a good purpose in this part of the film. From when she first arrives at Shiz until about the Oz Dust Ballroom scene, there's not really a huge transformation, but I will say she does go from being in that era of like adolescent innocence to, I just call it like her academic era. She's still wearing her hair up, she's still got the glasses on, but instead of it being like the very timid, like trying to essentially like hide herself, she has her hair pulled back off her face. It's in like a higher ponytail, and then she has her glasses on still, obviously, but she's very serious. She's trying to be taken seriously. She wasn't supposed to be at the school, but she was asked to stay, so she wants to make sure that she's fitting in, but not, she's never fully gonna fit in. That's kind of the overarching story of Wicked. Like, she doesn't fit in, but you know, she's just trying to be taken as seriously as she can be, and as just not as much of a automatic nuisance that it's almost tried to make her out to be when she arrives. Then we get to the Oz Dust scene. She's definitely still trying to be taken seriously in this scene. You know, she goes because she wants to try to do something to fit in. I feel like a lot of Wicked is very like, it's not that she doesn't want to be different. You know, being different makes her her, and it's such a vital part to the story. But I think that she just doesn't want to be treated as an outsider for being different. And I think that that's just such a beautiful message to send home. But she comes to the Oz Dust Ballroom. You know, she's got the hat on that Glinda gave her to make fun of her. She starts dancing. Everyone's looking at her all funny, whatever. But there's something stoic about this version of Elphaba, and I think this is the first time we see this like stoicism, and then it kind of carries through the rest of the movie, especially when we get to Defying Gravity. There's maturity that we can see in her, and I don't know if it's from just wanting to belong. I don't know if it's, you know, they're gonna laugh at me either way, so why not just I don't know. But there's just something very transformative in this moment that carries through the rest of the film. Of course, after the Oz Dust scene, this is when Glinda does the nice gesture for her. She like embarrasses herself, dances with her at the ballroom. They leave and go have their first like friend sleepover together as roommates that don't hate each other. And then after Popular is kind of when we see the soft pivot of Elphaba from this like stoic, almost putting up a wall of like, or like not even a wall, almost putting up a facade of like, I don't care what you think, but she really still does. I mean, Glinda even says it to Fiora when he's like, wow, you know, it's impressive. She really doesn't care what anyone thinks. And Glinda says, well, of course she does. And she can see the pain that Elphaba has. But I think befriending Glinda and their friendship gives her a sense of confidence that there is nothing wrong with her. And like, you just see this like softening a little bit of her. She's not so like, you know, like, I don't care. You see a little more playful, softer side of her. And like I said, that just carries through pretty much the end of part one. While I'm talking about hair in this film, just so that I don't feel crazy, like if you've been entertaining me this far, thank you. Because I feel like this sounds a little nutty or like, oh, you're thinking too deep in it. But it's like, no, this is something I notice, especially as a hairstylist, and especially a hairstylist who like fashion in film is really what sparked my interest in doing hair. Like, I love runway shows, I love fashion ads, and honestly, I really thought when I first started doing hair that like this would be my entryway to be able to do hair for music videos, because I always wanted to work in the music industry in some form. So storytelling with hairstyles is a big deal to me. I know it sounds a little crazy, but hear me out. To give you like a side-by-side comparison, we'll have Elphaba here, and like, you know, I'll put the different like iterations of how she looks throughout the film. She probably has the most transformative look and essence to her throughout the film. Glinda does as well, but hers in comparison is conformity. She's very uniform, you know, she always has her hair in the half up, half down. There might be like a slight change to it, but her look really doesn't change much throughout the film. And as we saw after, you know, the popular scene, like, oh, Glinda, like that's when she got the seal of approval from Glinda of like, you're cool, we're friends, love you. She kind of has Glinda's hairstyle showing the acceptance and conformity of their friendship. Not that that stays for long, however, it just does show that like there is this underlying sense of wanting to belong. So now looking forward into part 2 for good in the trailer, Elfie has definitely gone through a major transformation. She looks like a powerhouse while simultaneously still trying to hide away, but it's in a very different way than she was withdrawing and hiding away in part 1. She's got the smoky eye going on, the dark lip, the long goddess braids, and she is looking fierce. Like, if I was the wizard and this queen was planning my takedown, I'd be terrified. I didn't really know where to put this because we saw this scene in the trailer for part 1 and also in the trailer for part 2. I don't know if we're gonna finally see the scene in part 2 or not, so I also didn't know where to like put it in the timeline of like the evolution of Elphaba, but I think that this shows that she's like finally coming out of her shell. She's conforming a little bit because, as you can see, the hairstyle again very similar to Glinda's signature style, and she is like, you know, the epitome of like status and cool girl in this world. She's very popular, she's very well liked, well accepted, for better or for worse. I think this really does show her seeming to be like officially accepted into her dysfunctional friend group at Shiz. So I hope after watching this video that like when you watch TV and film moving forward, you look at it a little bit differently. Like, if not, whatever, I guess, cool, but this is something that like is really important and special to me as a hairstylist. I don't work in film per se, but I do have an appreciation for the unsung heroes of TV and film. You know, the people who you don't always know right at the forefront of a production because it's not like the lead actor, actress, or a like noteworthy director or producer. There's just like so many incredibly talented people in the other departments of TV and film production that I don't feel like get highlighted. And if you happen to have worked on any of the teams for Wicked and this video comes across your computer for some reason, like, I hope you are so beyond proud of what you have created collectively. Like, this has truly been one of the most exciting movie experiences I think I've had since like whenever the last Harry Potter movie came out. It's just very special. You quite literally created magic, and I hope you all were able to just like really enjoy this process, because it really is just like a lightning in a bottle moment that I don't know if you'll have this same feeling in other projects moving forward. I'm so happy to shine a light on the hair and makeup departments and how we can tie storytelling into external elements beyond the script of your favorite show, movie, whatever. And I really hope you enjoyed this video because I had a lot of fun making it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see my face come across your screen again, be sure to click the subscribe button so that you don't miss future uploads. And if not, okay then. Comment down below your favorite song from Wicked Part 1. Mine is definitely a three-way tie between Dancing Through Life, What Is This Feeling, and Defying Gravity. I really think the choreography for What Is This Feeling, and especially for Dancing Through Life, has like helped me survive this last year waiting for part 2. So iconic. I get so excited every time I watch the scene. It just looks so fun. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one.